By now, you've probably heard me raving about Osea. I'm obsessed with their Mega Moisture Duo, and I even caught my partner using it the other day because he smelled like seaweed. Now that's hot, right? You know who else would love Osea? Your mom, or your friends that are moms, or if you're a mom, because being a mom is hard work, and I think all moms deserve a spa day this Mother's Day. And what better way to make every day a spa day than with Osea's Mega Moisture Duo? And right now, you can even get an additional 10% off your first order with our code DATEABLE at OseaMalibu.com. Treat moms to the everyday spa experience she deserves with clean, vegan skin and body care from Osea. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at OseaMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating insider, if you will. On each episode, you'll hear commentary from my producer, Julie Kraftchick, and other surprise co-hosts.
This episode is brought to you by Hired Club, where friends help friends find jobs. You guys, we all know how challenging it is to find a new job, but Hired Club makes it easy. You can post a job or refer a friend for one. You can also get career coaching with professional career counselors to improve your resume, increase your salary, or practice interviewing and more. Join today at hiredclub.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about, you guessed it, modern dating. A lot of you tell us dating is basically your job. We hear about your dating career, about you dating almost like you're a professional. But today our guest, Meredith, is actually a dating app professional. She is a professional dater. She's a dating app professional by day and dater by night, which makes her even more interesting. Hi, Meredith.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey.
Good. She is the head of communications at The League, a popular dating app. We've also spoken to the founder, Amanda, on our show. She has worn a lot of hats during her work, doing everything from community management, social media, marketing, PR, and strategy, and also just keep things going and keep daters happy. But also during this time, and you are now in a happy monogamous relationship, but during a lot of that time you were dating by night, right? So professional dater during the day and then professional dater at night too.
In a different way.
In a different way, exactly. So a little bit of background about Meredith. She is 25 years old, originally from Westchester, New York, and she's been in San Francisco for 3.5 years. You're now in a monogamous relationship. How long have you guys been together?
We've been together for almost 8 months, so it's still really new.
Okay, so almost 8 months. But before this...
Or maybe 9.
Whatever.
Time flies.
Who gives a crap? Just less than a year. Let's say less than a year. Before this, you had quite a few years of dating while working at The League. What was that like?
You know, it was like a blessing and a curse in both ways, because I found that people were really interested and allured by the fact that I was this like dating expert, even though like by night, like I was really just trying to date and like actually just trying to meet people. But from the other side, I do feel that I had a little bit of an upper hand because I felt really confident. I felt confident in the dating experience. I felt confident in myself. You know, I know a lot of the back end, so I know, like how many times I've been hearted versus X'd, and that's a weird number to know.
That I don't know if I want to know.
People don't really know that, but yeah, like I got to see like of the people who X'd me, of the people who hearted me, and I almost think having this like reality check of dating kind of helped me through the process. Okay. Yeah.
Were you like full disclosure about your day job to the people you were dating?
Yes. And I actually, it's one of the first things that I tell people when I, go on a date with them, because it very much defines who I am. Before working at the League, I was working at a sex toy company, which is actually what moved me out to San Francisco. The sex part, and sex research is really my kind of like heartthrob. That's what gets me up and gets me going in the morning. And then when I fell in love with the tech space, being in San Francisco, I thought to myself, well, what's the middle ground between sex and tech? And it was dating apps. So, when I'm trying to get to know someone and tell them my story, it really starts with, hey, I worked for a sex toy company and now I work for a dating app. And a lot of guys are very intimidated by that.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah.
It's definitely a conversation starter. And it's easy to kind of have like light banter about the topic, but it's very easy to weed out the people who are just, drooling at the mouth or like, oh, that's hot, or
really?
Or
Are you mostly using the League during this time, or what? How other ways were you like dating?
Yeah, so I actually missed the boat on Tinder and Hinge. I mean, when I first moved out to San Francisco, I really just was out at the bars and meeting people and really not focused on dating. And then I think I was using maybe a few others a bit, but I remember a coworker telling me when I was working at Jimmy Jane at the time about the League and how it had just launched in private beta. But, you have to have this like awesome resume and career. And she looked at me, she's like, I don't know if you'd get in.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh.
You're like, well, I'll just go work there and then I'll get in.
And I'll never forget that. So I emailed Amanda 7 times because I didn't have her email. And so I just guessed what her email was. I was like, Bradford@theleague.com, Amanda@theleague.com. I got bounce back. Finally, one came through. And that was it. And then and at the time she was like, oh, I'm not ready to hire anyone. It was just her and one part-time engineer at the time. And I was like, just bring me on. I can do anything, everything. She was like, absolutely not. And then I said to her, well, why don't I just come on for 1 month contract to hire?
Wow, you're aggressive.
If you really don't like me, you can let me go. And then a month later, I was hired.
Awesome.
So you're using the League to date at this point.
Yes.
On the League, for Julie and I, just putting Dateable podcasts on our dating profiles, people always say stuff like, oh, are you doing this for research? Are you going to talk about me on the podcast?
Yes.
Did you get a lot of people who were like, are you doing this for research?
So much. That's like the number one like initiation message that I get, and automatically I'm like, next. Like that is the one thing I don't want to be asked.
Yeah.
But I think it's people are curious.
So one of the things you mentioned in the form that you submitted was, I was focused on dating to find myself rather than someone. And through that process, I met someone awesome. So what was like your mindset and what was your goals of dating at that time? Can you kind of take us back 2.5 years?
Yeah, I was really... I had just gotten out of a 3-year relationship.
Okay.
And it was
from New York?
From college, back in college.
Gotcha.
And it was an awesome, amazing relationship. And I think that, it's really important to have good experiences and good, healthy relationships. And so I had just gotten out of this relationship and I really had never done the dating thing as a young professional. And so I decided to date not to find someone, but date to find myself.
Especially in the industry, you're like, I gotta get experience.
Exactly,
I gotta get into the mindset.
And I felt like I missed the Tinder, and so I was like, okay, like I can give that up, but let's just really double down and go out on a lot of League dates. So I was probably going.
So you use the League primarily.
Yeah, I actually exclusively use the League.
And, well, that's good.
And as much as I want to,
eat your dog food,
push,
right?
Exactly, like push my own product. If you are really looking to find someone, and like, let's say your goal is by the end of the year, I really want to be in a serious relationship, you should be on all the apps. Like as much as I wasn't on a time crunch, and so I felt like I only really wanted to use one app.
It's not overwhelming.
Yeah, when you're in your early 20s, whatever. Try them all out.
Yeah, and new, and just not like, oh my god, I need to find someone. I just want to date and see what it's like.
Yeah,
very different mindset.
I was really busy at the time. I was working a lot of hours at the League. It's a dating app, but it's a startup. Like it is a serious startup, and it was just Amanda and I at the time. So I was going out on a date every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But that's still like a lot
pretty
of
good.
dates.
Yeah, but it wasn't like every night of the week. You weren't
Exactly.
burning yourself out. It was like a healthy amount that you were meeting new people.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I didn't want to be burnt out. And I wanted to feel like I was, getting to spend time with my friends and work and also this like dating self. And I decided to optimize for new experiences.
Okay.
And so that was like my kind of like forte, my mantra. I was like, okay, optimizing for new experiences, new people. I had only ever dated like one religion and ethnicity and background.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to get, I wanted to date someone
Outside of that.
Exactly, someone outside.
So
I
you
wanted
were
to date the black
open,
guy. I wanted
yeah.
to date the Indian. I wanted to date the Asian. I wanted to have those experiences. And I wanted not to just go out to dinner or drinks. I wanted to go to putt-putt, and I wanted to go have a makeout on top of Coit Tower, and I wanted to drive over to Marin Headlands and watch the sunset.
That's such a good point
Yeah.
because what we hear is the opposite. I'm so busy at work, I have no time. So when I do date, it's a 5-minute coffee meeting or going to a bar. It becomes a nuisance. But what you're saying is I'm optimizing the experience. I don't have time to date, but when I do date, I better make sure that it's a pretty good date. Even if that person is not my forever, I'm still going to make sure it's a good date.
Yeah, and what I actually started doing, and this was only probably about 8 months into dating, when I realized rather than like letting the other person pick the restaurant or the bar, I should just already have plans that night and invite them to them. So if there's like a museum that I want to go to or an art installation or a restaurant that I really want to try, I just pick what I want to do. And even if it's an awful date, at least I checked off something from my bucket list.
Sometimes you just don't have someone to go with.
I know.
That's
Even if you have a ton of friends, it's just like they're not free or like they're not into that. It's
And it's a great way to see someone in an element that they're not really comfortable with.
Yeah.
I've brought people to some, sexual health like conferences and talks. I've brought people to speed dating events, and if they can't hang, that's like a pretty good testament that we're not very compatible.
And from what I understand, you also took notes.
Yeah, so I would always walk back. I actually have some notes and then like some mental notes. But yes, I tried to write down something that I learned on the date. And it could have been, I wrote silly things down, for example, like non-negotiable, he has to love Broadway or musicals. Or like, non-negotiable, he can't pick his toenails, like in public. Like, weird
Did that
things
happen?
like that.
But basically, you're learning about what you like and what you don't like through dating other people. Not so much like, I'm looking for someone, he has to be 6'5" and he has to be like this. It's more like I would prefer someone who enjoyed musicals. I prefer someone who didn't smoke. It's your own preferences.
Exactly. And I also made a lot of notes about, when I ask a lot of questions on first dates about their family and friends, and the way that people talk about their family and friends, I think is very telling. And so I wrote down like, I want someone who talks over the moon about his sister. Like, I don't know why, that's so important to me.
I agree.
Yeah, so little things like that. And, listen, whether you get all your non-negotiables or not, probably not, but you start to realize, okay, what are the most important things that I'm looking for?
I do find men who have strong female figures in their family that they speak highly of are great boyfriends. Yep. They end up being great
or
partners.
Female friends or something.
Or female figures in their
exactly.
life. Yeah. Okay. And then were there times that this all sounds very positive, but were there times where you did feel a little burnout or negativity came in?
Yeah, I think burnout and also, maybe a little bit like jaded because I get to see all the internal things that go on with dating. And, I can't deny that there are a lot of people with antiquated thoughts and beliefs on dating and also what they're looking for, I see and I talk to the men who only want the tiny, blonde, blue eyes, Catholic, and won't settle for anything else. And then I get the girl, to the opposite, I get the girl who is upset and frustrated with her dating because she's looking for the 6-foot Jewish guy,
doctor,
highly educated within 2 miles of her. And I'm like, if you haven't found him yet, he probably doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's already taken.
Yeah.
Or there's like two people to choose from.
Yeah.
It's almost like I was never burnt out from my own dating experiences because I feel like I never, I didn't go on a date every week. I really kind of limited my personal dating because I was just talking about it and helping others date so much that I almost was burnt out from just helping others with their, woe stories. Like I was traveling all summer launching the league in, we now are live in 30 cities, and I went to Seattle, and in Seattle, everyone was like, dating in Seattle is the worst.
Everybody says that, yeah.
Dating in Houston is the worst. And dating in every city, everyone was like struggling with dating. And I think that almost hit me a little bit harder than my own personal experiences.
Yeah, I mean, negativity like feeds off of each other, and it just like starts to make, like, you were someone that was like, oh, I'm loving dating. Then you hear all these people being like, dating's the worst.
Yeah,
just
good luck.
Yeah, and I feel that when you are getting that burnt out feeling or jaded or just do things for yourself. It doesn't have to be cold turkey.
Right.
You can still talk on the dating apps and go in once a week or whenever you feel like it.
Or just when you connect with someone. It doesn't even have to be a schedule.
Exactly.
So during this time, were you looking for a long-term relationship, or were you just dating for the sake of dating?
I definitely am more of a monogamist, I think, kind of by default, than I am like this free spirit. And I have friends who are like that. I'm like, I wish I could be like you. I wasn't not looking for anything, but nothing came around that was really enticing to me. I had been in a relationship. In the time that I was dating, I actually started dating someone for about 6 months. And it was through friends of friends that we connected. And, I fell in love with him in some regards, but, we had like the lust and the passion and the excitement 100%, but nothing fit on paper. And so it was interesting because I had never had that experience before, like nothing fit. When you look down the line of if someone could potentially be your future forever. And he was at the point where he wanted that future forever. And I could have been fine with dating this guy for, another 6 months, but it wasn't fair to him at the time when he was looking more down the road than I was.
So what is it about your current boyfriend that stood out?
Well, actually, he messaged me with the same ridiculous, initiation message as everyone else. He was like, "Oh, are you on this for product research?"
Oh, I thought you usually.
I know.
You usually ask those people.
You're like, that guy's cute. I'm gonna.
Well, the funny thing is that I saw his profile that came up in my feed. I actually took a screenshot and I sent it to my sister, and I just sent her a text. I still have it, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm gonna date this guy." It was like the weirdest, and
what was it about him?
It was his look and his profile, and the whole package was just, I just was super into, like, I was totally bought in. And there was this one photo of like him with like giving a high five at a wedding to a little kid. And so he's in his suit and tie.
Cute.
The kid's in his suit and tie.
Oh my God.
And he's giving a high five. And
chances are he wasn't even at that wedding. That wasn't a kid he knew. But he's like, this is going to be a great photo for my dating profile.
Yeah. And then he also had a photo of like him and his dad, and they're both wearing Grateful Dead t-shirts. And like, I don't even know the Grateful Dead, but like there's
that's
just
adorable. Yeah.
So
so it just shows you that there is no right or wrong when it comes to dating. If you feel naturally drawn to someone, it's like anything they say, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, like, we weren't talking on the app for a very long time. I do think that I always say if you can list 3 things that you learned about that person from talking, whether that's like what they did last weekend or where they're from or where they live now, it's time to like go on a date. Even if it's like very basic new knowledge that you know about this person.
A good rule.
Yeah, if you can say 3 new things, go out for drinks.
There's a line. You don't want to know nothing about them. And I think also like if someone's just like, hey, want to get a drink, and you don't never
nothing.
Like,
yeah.
You're like, I think a woman is like kind of put like scared in a way. But I think there's also a line of just like the pen pal. that you never actually meet.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is also a turnoff.
But it's funny, I am notorious, I must say, for kind of canceling on dates if I'm really busy.
Oh,
yes, I know, a little bit. But the reason why I didn't flake on him was because he actually texted me and he said, "You'll never guess what happened." He was in New York at the Comedy Cellar, and all of a sudden Aziz Ansari gets up on stage. And he does his little bit that says, who here in the crowd is single and using dating apps? And, the guy, my boyfriend, raises his hand. He gets up on stage.
Oh, he reads his...
And he reads our conversations back and forth.
Oh, my God.
Of course, now all this stuff happening with Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But at the time, I was thinking, oh, my God, did Aziz Ansari say the league? How many times did he say the league? I'm thinking, that's as, a marketing opportunity and, how many people are in the crowd. So then Aziz said, all right, if you take this girl out for a drink and you get a second drink, I'll buy you your next round. So that never ended up happening, but I decided to not flake on him.
So Aziz is the one that pushed your relationship forward.
Exactly.
You need to thank him.
Okay, so what would you say, from all the dating, how many people do you think you went out with in this 2.5 years? If you had to, ballpark it.
Oh my God, I'm so bad at math, but if you think a date every 2 weeks, so that's 2 dates every month, times 12. What's that?
2 dates, so it's 24.
Yeah.
And for 2 years.
For 2 years.
So, okay.
Okay, so 50 people, probably.
Let's say 50 to 55-ish.
I think it's a little bit more than that. But yeah, let's just say 50.
But even 50 is a good amount of people to learn things from. Was there any dates that stood out that really taught you something about what you were looking for that kind of translate to your current boyfriend that you were now I know because of this date?
Yeah, I went on a lot of dates with people who were climbing the corporate ladder. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that there's that is an awesome career path, but I had a hard time connecting with those people because I was building my own ladder.
Yeah.
I was at a startup and, I went on, while I was on those first dates, a lot of them turned into second or third dates. And they were always, the guys never really understood why I was so busy or why I couldn't go on a date until 9 o'clock at night. And this guy, my current boyfriend, just got it. He's in the startup space. He was a CEO and a founder. And I think connecting on that level was huge for me because I had never exactly.
Well, it's you say bartenders. It's really hard to date a bartender unless you're another bartender in the industry because you're just on totally different wavelengths. But you get each other if you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard for, even if you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship, your careers may change throughout that relationship. And it's, again, goes back to empathy, right?
Exactly.
It's not so much about matching schedules, but if they don't have the empathy for your situation, then they're not a good fit.
I also remember there was a date I went on and I had known that this person, because I had a little bit of insight, he was a very popular user on the League. and so the fact that I was I have to go on a date with this guy because I can't believe that he hearted me because he was up here and I was, middle of the road. And I remember going out on the date and just feeling like I had to perform. And I actually ended up drinking too much on that date and ended up having to go to the bathroom and excuse myself.
Oh shit.
And I remember walking back and being why did I let myself drink too much?
Yeah.
Why did I feel like I needed to? Because that had never happened before, and I felt like I was having to be someone or look prettier, bat my eyes more, flirt more, and I realized that didn't feel like me. So that was also a good lesson.
You weren't comfortable.
Yeah, I wasn't comfortable.
No, that's a huge thing. And I love the fact that you actually took that insight, you were saying the notes, but then that mental conversation of why did I do this?
How are you so mature to think that? I mean, I just think when I was 25, if I got too drunk on a date and I went to the bathroom, what would be going through my head is I need to drink more. I need to black out tonight. That is my goal. I wouldn't be how did I allow myself to get this way?
Very introspective.
Yeah,
I love it.
How are you so introspective?
It's time to take a quick break so we can tell you about the latest service we have been building over at DATEABLE. We'll be offering a platform to connect you with vetted dating experts from our network to help with everything from dating profile reviews, coaching to see where you're getting stuck in dating, and even ways to get real feedback about your dating style. The sessions typically run from 30 minutes to an hour and can all be done via Skype or Google Hangouts, so you can be anywhere. We're so excited about this because so many of you wrote in asking how you can find people to help up your dating game, and this should be a great way to get personalized, affordable advice. We'll be adding more coaches and more services, and of course, let us know if there's something specific you like to see. To meet the coaches and book your session today, visit dateablepodcast.com/coaching. Now back to the show.
How
I love
are you
it.
so introspective?
Well, I think, growing up, my family was very open. My parents got divorced when I was at a very young age. So I think a lot of people grow up and they think of their parents as like, ew, I can't think about mom and dad kissing or having sex. That's gross. But I watched both of my parents go through dating. And also, my dad is remarried. They've been remarried for 13 years. But he's, an open swinger. And so I've learned, I've learned a lot about that, and I learned a lot about dating in your 40s and 50s.
And it wasn't hidden from you.
No, exactly. I have had relationships with women before. My brother, he came out about 5 years ago. And so I think just having this open dialogue in the family helps me be very, introspective when it comes to my own personal dating life.
That's an important point to bring up, is how you're brought up and how you see your parents' dynamic absolutely influences the way you date.
Oh my
For me,
God,
I
yes.
always assumed my parents never kissed, never had sex, and I came out like it was like pulling me out of a magic hat, they did not.
I was the same way.
I was not conceived, I just magically
Stork
appeared.
Exactly.
Magically
told the stork
appeared.
brought me for
Exactly.
years.
But when we reunite, because my dad came to the States first and my mom and I were back in China, and when we reunited after like 2 years of not being together, my parents were all over each other. And I was like, oh my God, game over. This is it. My parents actually do love each other and they touch each other.
Differently, yeah.
I saw them differently. And I remember that moment as a moment of, I want to feel that way with my partner. If I'm away from them for a while, I want to just miss them so much it hurts. And then when I see them again, it's like I can't keep my hands off of them.
Yeah.
It really,
the best feeling.
if you're feeling like in your current relationships or your current dating life, what is it that's a little bit off or strange? Like, think back to your childhood.
It also doesn't have to be, I agree with you 100%, but I feel like for me, I was very similar that it wasn't, what's the right word?
like affectionate.
Not a super affectionate relationship. So I kind of had that vision. And then for years, I wasn't that interested in relationships. Like I was like, kind of like, gotta get my like own shit together and like make money and have a good career and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then one of my bosses, like I just like remember seeing him and his wife and they were just like so loving, so amazing. And then that's when I was like, oh my God, I want that.
I want
so
that.
sometimes it's not... sometimes you can't change how you grew up. Like, it's just is what it is. But you can also find it other places.
But love changes so much over time.
Yes.
The
really
love
does.
that I feel right now is going to be very different
Yes.
5, 10, 15 years from now. And when you get married, that love fluctuates. There are some years, some months, or even years where you're going to look at that person and you may not be madly, deeply in love with that person, which is why I think that compatibility is so important, and respect. You can lose love and you can be okay in a marriage, but if you lose respect,
it's
over.
But you were so open, and I feel like in this 2.5 years that you were dating, you were open to any sort of relationship, you're open to any sort of person, you didn't have a particular type. What is it about your current boyfriend that really stood out? I feel like we still haven't gotten an answer to this.
He's the goofy dad. I'm so into the goofy dads, like he has no fashion sense. He is super silly. He's not the bad boy at all. He's quirky. And that's what I'm into. If someone can make me laugh uncontrollably until my stomach hurts, that's what I'm into.
Do you think you would have been into him earlier on in your dating career?
Yeah, I think so. I think like not only does he fit like my type of like the goofy dad that I'm into, but we are so compatible in similarities in beliefs and values from like a family perspective, from a career perspective, from a hopes and dreams perspective. And I think there's, if someone can pick you up and make you feel on top of the world, then that is like the best feeling of all. I mean, listen, like I'm unbelievably happy in this relationship right now. It's still very new.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of changing to do, a lot of growing.
Yeah.
It's easy when things are easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what about when things are really hard?
So do you think hypothetically, if you had met him right after your last relationship and didn't go through this 2.5 years, do you think anything would have been different? I mean, it's hard to say in hindsight.
Yeah. I think that I've learned a lot about what I'm looking for. But, he reminds me a lot of the relationship I had in college.
Okay.
And, it was like a really healthy relationship. And it wasn't like that they looked the same or acted the same. It wasn't about that. It was the beliefs and the values and just like happy guys.
Yep.
Like they're just really happy people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really attracted to that kind of
Probably 'cause
positivity.
you're super positive.
Yeah, that positivity.
Did you look into his league profile after you guys matched?
I can't deny that, like, I haven't done that in the past. It's so hard not to, but I decided not to for this one. And
Good for you.
When I had an inkling that it could potentially go somewhere, I didn't look. Because once you look, nothing, you can't.
Right.
You
don't want to unsee that.
Yeah. I don't think I want to know.
So what are some takeaways we have from this conversation?
Oh, wow. I feel like I'm learning a lot from from someone who is so, I like really admire how open you are and your introspective mindset. And I think the one thing I'm taking away is you have to learn. Dating in life is all about learning about your own personal growth. And a lot of times with dating, we put the onus on the other person. Like, this person isn't where I want them to be yet, or this person isn't what I'm looking for right now. But then we have to turn it around and say, why am I not ready for this person right now? Where am I right now? And why am I not attracted to this, or why am I attracted to that? So I think dating needs to be turned around to what is my personal growth and reflect it back. And the other thing I think is interesting is optimizing dates, because we've had so many people come on the show and say, this is my strategy for dating. And it's all about optimizing time. People tend to say like, I like to book back-to-back dates. I want to get like 5 dates in a week. But when you are strapped for time and that time could be spent with your family and friends, if you are going on 1 or 2 dates a week, then optimize for that experience. And I like that you already had these events lined up, and if anybody is willing to go, then make that a date. That's great.
I think mine is like, you hear a lot of people bitch about dating. Like when you say dating, a lot of people are like, oh, dating, and I've caught myself feeling that way too sometimes. So I'm not above it. But I think like I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine in New York who's now married. And I was like doing research to like understand the differences in different cities and asking her when I was out there last. And I was like, what did you like the best about dating in New York? And one of the things she said was similar to you about like, I got to go to new places and try new things and do all these experiences. And sometimes when you're just so focused on finding the right person, you forget that dating is fun.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be like this miserable thing that you have to do and you're being forced to do.
Yeah.
And I liked your like outlook that like, okay, even if we weren't a fit, I still did something fun. I learned something new. Like, I think those types of positive training is going to lead you eventually to the right person, but timing is everything, right? And like, it's hard to say what you need and what you don't, but those experiences help you get there.
And, we say this a lot. Timing is everything. Know your intentions when it comes to dating. But what this episode is showing me is don't put that much pressure on yourself. I mean, when I was dating last, I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted a long-term relationship. I was looking for monogamy. I was looking for future marriage potential. But if you're not that clear about your intentions and what you're looking for, it doesn't mean you need to pull yourself out of the dating game. you actually can reach those conclusions while dating. So
Yep.
don't put so much pressure on, I need to know exactly what I'm looking for.
But I also liked what Meredith said about intention. It's like, I was just trying to go and learn about myself, but I still I know I'm a monogamous person. I know eventually I want someone. So I'm not ruling that out. I'm not just dating to date and whatnot, but it's not my sole purpose. And I think sometimes when you make it your sole purpose, that's when there's a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
So it's that balance of knowing what you want, but not being overly fixated. That's the only thing.
So Meredith, what advice would you give to others who look at dating as a job?
From someone that it is their job.
Yeah, considering it is my job. It's hard because I don't want to tell those people not to think that way. I have a very good friend who was dating as their job because they knew what they wanted, like you just mentioned, and found someone, and they've been dating for 2 years now.
Okay.
So I don't want to say that it's almost like if you're dating if you're dating as if it's your job, but you have a negative perspective on it, that's when you need to change.
Right.
But if you're fine with it being your job and you're like, I'm ready and I'm going to know what I want and I'm going to go after it, then that's one thing. But yeah, if you're feeling really burnt out and negative and you're not going anywhere with it, take a break, and I don't mean, as much as you want, whether that's 1 week, whether that's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then slowly get back into it. And like I said, plan events that you're excited about, whether that's going to jazz, whether that's going to a movie that you want to see or a restaurant that you really want to try, and then invite someone new to come along with you. Because it's a new person, it's a new experience, and even if you walk away never seeing that person again, you're going to say, wow, well, at least I, knocked something off my bucket list.
So don't stop your life to date.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Dating should be part of your life. It should complement your life, but don't stop it.
Well, I think there's a good point, too. It's because I'm mixed on this, dating as a job. And I totally agree with you. If it's negative, then it's bad. But if it's not, then there's nothing wrong with it. But it's if you think about getting a job, you're not going to just sit around and do nothing. You're going to be, sending resumes out and putting your best foot forward. So I do think there is an element, like you said, if you want something, to go after it.
And, just like a job, if you're feeling really burnt out at work, what are you going to do? You're going to start, leaving a bit earlier, taking more time for yourself, sleeping more, eating better, not pulling late hours. So I think it's the same thing as dating.
Adjusting, yeah.
Or take a sabbatical.
Exactly.
We do have a question of the day. This one comes from Rachel. She says, I was watching my friend swiping on dating apps and saw she got a lot more matches than I typically do. I felt a little discouraged because clearly more options means a better chance of finding a partner. Do you guys have any thoughts on this and what I can do to get more matches? Meredith?
Definitely. So first I would suggest, look at your photos. Photos are a big one. And have your friends look at your photos and tell you which ones you look the best in. Sometimes we think we look really great in photos, and perspective is different from other friends. So definitely look at that. But I actually don't think that more matches necessarily means that person's going to find someone. If you are optimizing for popularity, right? You want as many matches as possible, then you just want as many hearts and hearts and hearts. But
vanity swipes.
Exactly, vanity swipes. But if you're really looking for a partner who fits this niche that you're looking for, you actually don't want all those swipes. You really want the people who are opting in to something that you're interested in. For example, let's say you put a photo of you, on a motorcycle, right? You love motorcycles. Not everyone's going to heart that. But the people who are also into motorcycles are going to heart you because they're opting into that photo and to potentially you and them riding a motorcycle together. So I would say that if you're looking for someone who, fits a specific thing you're looking for, then put a photo of that on your profile. But it's not necessarily about as many matches as possible.
When you talk about the profiles that are very popular on the league, do these people tend to stay single longer because they are getting so many matches?
That's a good question.
Is there a trend?
You know, I find that the most popular people on dating apps do find someone fast and leave the app. But just like dating typically happens, a lot of them come back. You know, so I think that, you know, they find someone fast, they get off, and then sometimes they come back on.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, being listen, there's always going to be the hot guy and the hot girl who get tons of hearts on dating apps. But the majority of us are really just looking for, you know, your other person who's just as awkward and goofy and silly and corny as you are.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, it is like hard because there is that mentality of like more options means like more potential, which is true in a lot of ways. But I agree with you in what you said in the sense that like sometimes more options actually just makes you more indecisive. So maybe having less options in someone that's really like more your speed could actually be a better thing.
I do remember OkCupid came out with this report that said through their research, the people who were most successful on their site were the ones that had very particular interests. So people who were like into, I don't know, like gothic things, like those people got matched up really fast because you're looking for something very particular.
Yeah, and we find on the league a lot of it comes with education and profession. So people who have, you know, really highly educated find someone who's also very highly educated and they match up very quick.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Well, I would say to Rachel, it's not a numbers game. I don't think it is that when it comes to finding the right mate. It's all about what you're looking for. So your pictures and your profile shouldn't appeal to the masses. If you're appealing to too many people, you're doing something wrong,
And
right?
It's also not a comparison game. It's tough sometimes like to not fall in that trap, but like just because your friend is getting a certain amount of matches doesn't mean that she or he is any more successful or less successful than you in finding in happiness in the long term.
It's all about targeted marketing. This is what we always learn about. You know, it's like if you appeal to the masses, you're not appealing to everyone who's going to buy. So you want to appeal only to the people who are going to buy.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, any other takeaways before we wrap this up?
No, I think just I love this positive mindset and just kind of taking everything as an experience.
Well, thank you, Meredith,
Yeah,
for
thank you.
bringing this energy to our show. We really appreciate it. If anybody wants to get in touch with Meredith, you can find her on the league still, I'm sure.
That's right.
She may be beta testing.
In multiple cities.
And anybody who's listening who wants to be a guest on our show, maybe you have a differing opinion to this, or you want to talk about your own experiences, we love to have you as a guest because we're still booking guests for season 6. And on that note, let's wrap this up.
Stay dateable.
Your action item for this week is to make a list of new experiences and events that you want to have in the next coming month. And so next time you go on a date, you can propose one of these ideas.
This episode is brought to you by Hired Club, where friends help friends find jobs. You guys, we all know how challenging it is to find a new job, but Hired Club makes it easy. You can post a job or refer a friend for one. You can also get career coaching with professional career counselors to improve your resume, increase your salary, or practice interviewing and more. Join today at hiredclub.com. If you didn't know already, we have a revamped website with articles, videos, and content all about modern dating. You can also find our premium Why series, where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We've had some great feedback about how actionable these episodes are, so check them out on our website or iTunes Music. Also, visit the site today to see the latest about coaching, where we connect you with Dateable approved experts to help with everything from dating profile reviews, coaching, and even gathering real feedback about your dating style in a personalized and affordable way. To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and auto-download the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player so you never miss an episode.